For centuries, the Catholic Church has been at the center of faith, power, and controversy. It claims to be the original church founded by Jesus Christ and his apostles. But what if its origins are far more complex than we were taught? History tells us that Christianity emerged in the Middle East and spread through the Roman Empire, eventually becoming the dominant religious force in the Western world. However, few people realize that the structure, rituals, and traditions of the Catholic Church bear striking similarities to much older religious practices. What if the Church was not merely a continuation of Jesus' teachings, but a carefully constructed institution influenced by ancient traditions, political strategy, and even pagan rituals? The transition from early Christianity to the Roman Catholic Church was not immediate. It was a gradual process shaped by imperial power, religious adaptation, and the need for control over a vast and diverse population. Symbols, holidays, and customs we associate with Christianity today may have origins that predate Christ himself. But why would these elements be incorporated into the Church? Was it an attempt to unify a fractured empire? Or was there something more, something hidden beneath centuries of doctrine and tradition? Stay with us as we uncover the forgotten origins of the Catholic Church, revealing connections to ancient pagan traditions, political maneuvers of the Roman Empire, and historical influences that shaped the faith we know today. By the end of this video, you might see the Church's history in an entirely new light. To understand the true origins of the Catholic Church, we must first step back in time to examine the world that existed before Christianity emerged. The first century was an era of vast political control, religious diversity, and cultural fusion, all under the rule of the Roman Empire. At its height, Rome stretched from Britain to North Africa and from Spain to the Middle East, ruling over a vast array of peoples, languages, and traditions. This diversity, however, presented a challenge. How do you unify an empire where everyone worships different gods and follows different customs? Religion played a crucial role in Roman society. Unlike the monotheistic faiths that would later rise, Rome's religious system was polytheistic, absorbing gods and rituals from the many lands it conquered. Public temples, priesthoods, and sacrifices were woven into daily life, and religious festivals such as Saturnalia and Sol Invictus were widely celebrated. But beyond these public rituals, there were also mystery cults, such as the worship of Mithras and Isis, which promised secret knowledge and personal salvation. These cults, with their initiation rites, communal meals, and sacred symbols, bear striking similarities to what would later be seen in Christianity. It was in this world, one dominated by Roman power and religious pluralism, that Christianity began to take shape. At first, it was a small, persecuted sect that grew out of Judaism, preaching a radically different message, one that rejected multiple gods and declared that only one true God existed. This defiance was seen as dangerous. Refusing to worship the emperor or the Roman deities was considered treason, leading to waves of persecution where countless Christians were executed. But something extraordinary happened. Instead of fading into obscurity, Christianity continued to grow, spreading through trade routes, underground gatherings, and the influence of its martyrs. Eventually, it reached the highest levels of Roman power, where a dramatic transformation occurred, one that would forever alter the course of religious history. The same empire that once sought to eliminate Christianity would soon embrace it, reshaping it into a unified, institutionalized faith. But how did this shift occur? And why do so many elements of Roman paganism appear in what would become the Catholic Church? In the next chapter, we will uncover the fascinating parallels between early Christianity and ancient pagan traditions, connections that many prefer to keep hidden. The transition from a persecuted Christian sect to the dominant religion of the Roman Empire did not happen overnight. As Christianity spread, it encountered a vast mosaic of pagan traditions deeply ingrained in Roman society. Instead of rejecting these practices outright, many were gradually absorbed and repurposed, creating a faith that blended Christian doctrine with familiar pagan customs. This process was not accidental. It was a strategic adaptation that allowed Christianity to gain widespread acceptance across the empire. One of the most striking examples is the timing of religious celebrations. The birth of Jesus is celebrated on December 25th, but nowhere in the Bible is this date specified. In fact, early Christians did not celebrate Christ's birth at all. However, December 25th was already a major holiday in pagan Rome, marking the festival of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, honoring the sun god. By aligning Jesus' birth with this pre-existing holiday, the Church made the transition easier for those who were accustomed to celebrating the return of the sun after the winter solstice. Similarly, Easter, the celebration of Christ's resurrection, coincides with ancient fertility festivals dedicated to goddesses like Ishtar and Eos Tre, both symbolizing rebirth and renewal. Beyond holidays, the architecture and rituals of the church also reflect earlier traditions. Roman temples, with their grand altars and towering columns, were later repurposed as Christian basilicas. The use of incense, candles, vestments, and processions common in pagan worship became integral to Christian ceremonies. Even the hierarchical structure of the Catholic Church, with its priests, bishops, and a supreme pontiff, mirrors the religious order of the Roman priesthood, where high-ranking officials oversaw the spiritual affairs of the empire. The veneration of saints in Catholicism also bears resemblance to pagan deification. In Rome, it was customary to elevate emperors and heroes to divine status, building shrines and temples in their honor. As Christianity spread, a similar practice emerged, except now, it was Christian martyrs and saints who were revered, prayed to, and given sacred places of worship. This integration of pagan elements was not a betrayal of Christianity, but rather a means of survival and expansion. It allowed the faith to appeal to a broader audience, making conversion easier for those who were hesitant to abandon their long-held traditions. But while these adaptations made Christianity the dominant force in the Roman world, they also raised an unsettling question. To what extent was the Catholic Church shaped by political necessity rather than purely spiritual truth? By the early 4th century, Christianity had grown from a persecuted minority into a force that could no longer be ignored. The Roman Empire, once determined to suppress the faith, now faced a new reality. Christianity was spreading rapidly, attracting converts from all levels of society, including members of the imperial court. What happened next would forever alter the course of religious history. In 313 AD, Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, officially granting Christians the freedom to practice their faith. This marked a turning point. Christianity was no longer an underground movement, but a recognized and protected religion within the empire. However, Constantine did not simply tolerate Christianity. He saw its potential as a unifying force for his empire, which was increasingly divided by political instability and cultural differences. To achieve this, he took a bold step. He began reshaping Christianity into an institution aligned with the Roman state. One of his most crucial actions was the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, where bishops from across the empire were summoned to settle theological disputes and define the official doctrines of the Church. This was where key decisions were made, such as establishing the divinity of Christ, rejecting alternative interpretations of Christianity, and creating a unified creed that all believers were expected to follow. Those who disagreed were labeled heretics, and their writings were banned or destroyed. But perhaps the most significant transformation was in the structure of the Church itself. Before this period, Christian communities were loosely organized, with local leaders guiding their congregations. Now, under imperial influence, Christianity adopted a rigid hierarchy, mirroring the structure of Roman governance. The Bishop of Rome gradually gained prominence, eventually becoming the Pope, a title derived from Pontifex Maximus, which had been used by Roman emperors to denote their role as chief priests of the state religion. As the Church became more deeply entangled with imperial politics, it also absorbed the wealth and authority that came with state sponsorship. Temples were converted into churches, pagan lands were seized, and religious leaders became influential figures in government affairs. By the time the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century, the Catholic Church had emerged as the new power that would shape Europe for the next 1,000 years. But was this transformation a divine plan or a calculated move to control the masses? And if the Church was built upon imperial authority, how much of its original spiritual message remained intact? As Christianity evolved from a persecuted faith to the dominant religious institution of the Roman Empire, its transformation was far more than just a spiritual movement. It became a tool of political control. But was this evolution a natural progression of faith, or was it a deliberate effort to consolidate power under a new religious order? With the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century, Europe entered a period of chaos. The once mighty empire crumbled under waves of invasions, economic decline, and internal corruption. However, one institution remained standing, the Catholic Church. As emperors and kings lost their thrones, the Church filled the power vacuum, offering stability in an era of uncertainty. But was this by chance? Or was it by design? Many historians argue that the Church's structure was engineered to replace the Roman imperial system. The Pope became the new emperor in religious form, bishops served as governors, and the Church's laws, canon law, became the foundation for future legal systems across Europe. Those who obeyed the church were promised salvation. Those who opposed it were condemned as heretics. This absolute authority over spiritual and political life allowed the church to dictate morality, suppress opposing views, and even crown and excommunicate kings. Its control was not limited to theology. It extended into laws, education, and even the military, with the Crusades being one of the most extreme examples of religious power influencing global conflict. But beyond politics, the very teachings and rituals of the church were also shaped by its need to maintain influence. Many pagan customs, once absorbed to ease conversion, became official doctrine, transforming Christianity into a faith deeply intertwined with ancient traditions. Was this preservation of culture or a calculated move to make the church more universally acceptable? This leads to one final question. If the foundations of the church were influenced by imperial authority, political ambition, and religious assimilation, how much of its original spiritual message remains today? Has the true essence of Christianity been buried under centuries of doctrine, power struggles, and hidden history? The history of the Catholic Church is far more complex than most people realize. While it is presented as the continuation of Jesus Christ's teachings, history reveals a gradual transformation shaped by political necessity, cultural adaptation, and imperial strategy. From its earliest days, Christianity absorbed elements from older pagan religions, mirroring Roman traditions in its architecture, rituals, and holidays. Later, as the empire saw the strategic potential of Christianity, it became not just a faith but a tool of unification and control. The Council of Nicaea, the rise of the papacy, and the deep integration of church and state ensured that the Catholic Church would outlast the very empire that once ruled it. But this leads to an unsettling question. If so much of the church was shaped by political and cultural forces, how much of its original spiritual message remains intact today? Has the true essence of Christ's teachings been lost in centuries of power struggles, doctrinal revisions, and historical secrecy? Or was this evolution necessary to preserve and spread the faith? Regardless of your beliefs, one thing is clear. The Catholic Church is not simply a spiritual institution. It is one of the most enduring and influential forces in human history. Its legacy is built on faith, but also on strategy, adaptation, and power. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the Catholic Church evolved naturally, or was it deliberately designed to maintain control? How much of its structure today is based on faith, and how much on political influence? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your perspective. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more deep dives into history, religion, and hidden truths. The past holds many secrets, but only those who seek will uncover them.